Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. Clint Eastwood finally breaks at the age of 94. No comment on John Wayne. Clinton is the birthplace of Clint Eastwood. Eastwood Jr. in San Francisco on May 31, 1930, Francisco, California. Eastwood was raised throughout the Great Depression. His early life was characterized by financial difficulties. However, it also fostered a strong feeling of robustness and independence that would subsequently describe a large portion of his film persona. His professional path is evidence of his adaptability, transformed from a tough TV cowboy to an renowned filmmaker whose films continuing to influence the terrain of contemporary film. Eastwood's early spent several years in the Bay Area, where he went to a number of schools, including Oakland Technical High School. His father was employed as a steelworker. Mom worked as a secretary. Growing up in a working-class setting, Clint discovered the importance of diligence from a young age. His early years were difficult. This involved relocating regularly because the period's economic volatility. He established a passion for music from a young age, playing the piano, and eventually, the trumpet. But it was his curiosity about sports and the natural world that resulted in his initial employment, which included positions as a student and a lifeguard at Seattle College. The breakthrough for Clint Eastwood occurred in 1955, when he secured a minor part in the television show Rawhide. This signified the start of his ascent to stardom, yet in the 1960s, a real breakthrough role was played, his depiction of the stoic rough as Sergio's unnamed nail artist, the trilogy of Leon's dollars. These movies, including 1964's A Fistful of Dollars, 1965, For a Few More Dollars, and The Ugly, The Bad, and The Good made Eastwood a household name in 1966. His depiction of the stoic, ethical, uncertain anti-hero became a defining characteristic of the genre of Western music and established his standing as a global symbol. Following the Dollars trilogy, the career of Eastwood surpassed the Western genre in scope. He began to be associated with pasta westerns, were a type of movie that were mostly made in Italy and included anti-heroes, brutality, and a glaring, grim reality that stood in stark contrast to considering the more sterile American westerns of the era. His rough, frequently, the silent shows were combined with the famous musical compositions by Ennio Morricone, solidifying the movies as timeless masterpieces. Eastwood's accomplishments, as eventually a prominent figure in westerns, led to Inspector Dirty Harry's position in the Dirty Harry series, Callahan starting with the Dirty movie from 1971. Harry Callahan's character, an unyielding, tough police officer, became one of Eastwood's most well-known and long-lasting functions. The movie's slogan, "Do Punk, Do You Feel Fortunate?" is among the greatest sayings in movie history, summarizing the persona of relentless tenacity and Eastwood's tough guy persona. The show ran for 5 movies, and Eastwood's depiction of Callahan struck a profound chord with audiences, confirming his position in among the best in cinematic history stars of his time in action. The 1970s and the 1980s, Eastwood started to extend his actuating muscles outside of the responsibilities of the silent, powerful man, demonstrating in order to address a variety of genres, including comedy, action, and drama. He appeared in movies like The Gauntlet, Escape from Alcatraz, 1977-1979, as well as Everywhere But Loose, 1978, demonstrating his comic timing in addition to typical action skills. By the 1990s, Eastwood was now a well-known figure, not just before the camera, but behind it as well. As Eastwood's with a well-established acting career, he quickly aimed to expand his creative horizons by the use of direction. The first film I directed was Play Misty for Myself, a thriller about a crazy fan from 1971 who follows a DJ on the radio. The movie was an achievement, and Eastwood's aptitude as the directors were identified right away. He accompanied by a wide range of movies, such as Josie Wales's The Outlaw. The 1976 Western received accolades for its thorough examination of topics like justice, atonement, and retribution. Eastwood's career as a filmmaker reached the 1990s and 2000s, reaching new heights with a string of highly regarded movies. Unforgiven, 1992, a Western that was revised, questioned conventional depictions of bravery and brutality, garnered 4 Academy Honors, such as Best Image and Best Director. This was a pivotal moment in Eastwood's career during his change from largely being seen as a star to an honorable R. The film's subtle narrative, powerful performances, and dismantling of the Western genre strengthened Eastwood's standing as one of the best filmmakers of his time. Over the course of the 2000s and 2000s, Eastwood remained a producer and director. Movies that examined difficult subjects like As Conflict, National Pride, and Individual Sacrifice. Movies like As Mystic River Flags of 2003, $1 Million Baby 2004, and Gran Torino 2008, and Our Fathers 2006, demonstrated his capacity to operate in various genres while preserving his distinctive emphasis on profoundly human tales. Baby Million Doll was especially prosperous, generating another Academy Award for Best goes to Eastwood. Director, in addition to a Best Picture Award Oscar. Eastwood left behind a legacy that goes beyond to his directing and acting accomplishments. He has experienced a significant influence on American film, affecting generations of filmmakers who have used his harsh realism, simple design, and investigation of difficult moral issues. His art is renowned for its simplicity, conversation, hushed tones, and character-driven stories, which makes him an expert at telling stories using images. Eastwood's impact can be seen not just in Hollywood, as well as the larger cultural environment. His movies frequently address issues of masculinity, individual accountability, as well as the effects of violence, providing viewers with an unwavering perception of human nature. His depiction of damaged individuals who battle with their pasts has struck a chord with viewers all over the world, making his work that is timeless. In addition to his contributions, Eastwood has also been active in the film industry, in politics, holding the position of Mayor of California's Carmel by the Sea in 1986 up until 1988. He has been vocal about support individual liberty and restricted administration with a political philosophies that combine conservative with a significant regard for personal freedoms. The transformation of Clint Eastwood from a troubled young performer to one of the most significant filmmakers in history is an inspiring tale of perseverance, tenacity, and creative vision. Over the span of over 60 years, Eastwood consistently has pushed the limits of his profession, changing from turning a tough guy actor into a well-liked filmmaker whose works have become milestones in the film industry. His career has been characterized by audacious decisions, a steadfast dedication to his art, and a commitment to narrating tales that inspire and challenge. As Eastwood works well into his 90s, his influence on the motion picture business is still present, as powerful as ever. His movies have garnered not only praise from critics, but also a devoted following that includes generations. The contributions of Eastwood to cinema and culture and his legacy are incalculable, will keep influencing the world of amusement for many years to come. He's aerial life Hollywood icon, a man who has made a lasting impression on the cinematic history. Clint Eastwood, their renowned producer, director, and actor, has gone through 2 widely reported divorces all of his life. These divorces influenced not just his personal upbringing, but also influenced his public perception of each relationship being part of his complicated and complex voyage. Eastwood's initial marriage to a woman named Maggie Johnson Long earlier, in the early 1950s, he met his ascent to stardom. They were wed in the year 1953, when Eastwood was starting to make a name for himself in Hollywood. Maggie, who was born in California, served as an example, and their 31 years were spent in marriage. In spite of the duration of their marriage, it was full of tremendous challenges and ultimately came to an end in a divorce in 1984. The causes of their breakup were extensively conjectured, but were mainly ascribed to Eastwood's growing popularity as well as his many infidelity. During their union, Eastwood was frequently away from home for business promises. Additionally, this distance paired with his notorious infidelity tendencies ultimately caused a rift between the pair. The pair had 2 offspring when they were married, a son daughter named Allison and a son named Kyle, who were both raised in thestresses brought on by their father's increasing fame. Despite the fact that their parents, despite being apart, Eastwood kept a relationship with his kids, and they grew up leading prosperous lives of their own. But the separation from Maggie Johnson signaled the start of the new phase in Eastwood's life, one that would see him connected romantically to a number of other women, in addition to entering into a second marriage. In 1996, following a string of connections and liaisons, it was Eastwood's second marriage, to Dana Ruiz, the actress this time. They were married, and he was 35 years his junior. Following a short courting, the partnership was perceived as one of love, and the two of them had a daughter. Morgan was born in 1996. Eastwood's second, nevertheless. Additionally, marriage turned out to be turbulent, but for various reasons, although by that time, Eastwood had made a name for himself. As a well-known personality in Hollywood, his Dina's marriage was contingent upon a fair degree of media attention. With time, rumors started to spread that there was tension in the bull marriage because of Eastwood's individual actions, his consistent dedication to his job, and his propensity to be emotionally aloof. Furthermore, some conjectured that the age of the pair disparity was one of the causes of their difficulties. The 13-year marriage ended before, in 2014, it also ended in divorce. The split was cordial, with both parties making declarations highlighting mutual regard and comprehension. Even though they are no longer together, Eastwood stayed in close contact with his Morgan, the daughter, keeping an active part of her life. Dina Ruiz was also capable to establish her own television career, journalistic, following and personality their separation. This marriage's demise was a pivotal period in Eastwood's life, since it was the second occasion that he had abandoned a committed marriage. The divorces of Clint Eastwood act as an insignificant aspect of his personal background, providing insight on his connections and his occasionally intricate method of family and affection. His unions reveal somebody who, in spite of his prosperity and notoriety, had trouble striking a balance between his personal life through his public image. These events also raised awareness of the sacrifices made by numerous members of his family were forced to make because of his dedication to his profession and the difficulties associated with marriage to an iconic figure in Hollywood. However, Clint Eastwood's capacity to keep up a connection with his kids and maintain their relevance in the entertainment sector speaks to his tenacity and resolve, in addition to his potential for personal development and a specialist. At 94, Clint Eastwood, years old, has experienced a life full with legendary parts, classic movies, and a profession that has shaped the terrain of Hollywood for many years. A legend in real life, in every way possible, his career covers more than 70 years, and his impact on both directing and acting is incalculable. But for all the honors and victories he's gained over, one thing he had retained over the years, comparatively silent regarding his connection to one of Hollywood's John Wayne and other titans. Following years of conjecture, gossip, and interest, Clint Eastwood has at last made the decision to stop keeping quiet about it. Eastwood, who is renowned for his stoicism and a track record of speaking only when required, has seldom ever talked about his opinions about John Wayne. This is particularly fascinating in light of the fact that Wayne, who went by the name Duke, was a popular character in American westerns genre, a field in which Eastwood would ultimately take control. Given that two of the most well-known names in westerns, a large following, and the industry, both insiders had questioned whether there was any rivalry or personal relationship, whether their paths had crossed, or if transcended their genre-specific responsibilities. The moment Eastwood made the choice it is important to speak out about Wayne, because both actors have experienced significant and enduring effects on Western music. Clint's ascent to popularity was mostly because of his position as the man without name in the spaghetti Western directed by Sergio Leone, including A Fistful of Dollars, the trilogy 1964, For a Few Extra Dollars, The Good, the Bad, and the Horrible, 1966. These movies were a dramatic deviation from the conventional Hollywood John Wayne starred in westerns. Although Wayne's movies tended to represent the valiant, honorable, and greater-than-life as an American cowboy, Eastwood frequently offered a more sinister, ethically dubious figure that contrasts sharply with the figure that waves the American flag. Wayne was the representative. In interviews conducted over the years, Eastwood had not said much regarding Wayne, perhaps as a result of the enormous disparity between their performing approaches and public identities. But Eastwood's remarks have frequently demonstrated a significant amount of regard for Wayne's involvement in the movie sector. But the question still stood. How did a man with his own unique method of filmmaking see what effect did John Wayne have on Hollywood? Eastwood eventually shattered his quiet, providing his most honest ideas as of yet. During a private discussion at a business gathering, Eastwood considered the famous picture of John Wayne, which has persisted throughout generations. He recognized the enormous Wayne's level of fame as a movie star in addition to his impact on the Western style. John had a large frame in every sense, Eastwood remarked. Considering on his professional life, he was bigger than life in his portrayal of characters, but that's only one aspect of the situation. Everybody has a different idea of what it means to be a hero and a cowboy. Eastwood clarified that although the way Wayne portrayed the Western hero wasn't necessarily a role, but it was iconic, he wished to imitate. Wayne's personas were frequently about good and bad, and awful, and not much in between, and that's okay. But I've consistently felt that there is much more complexity in life. Compared to that, Eastwood clarified. He left going on to describe his personal strategy for acting, which included giving characters with conflicting morals. The one-dimensional figures are far away that frequently appeared in Wayne's movies. Eastwood frequently created gritty, imperfect, and practical individuals who had to deal with moral conundrums and choices that weren't always unambiguous. In spite of the glaring disparities in their behavior genres, Eastwood was not afraid to showing appreciation for Wayne's efforts. He had his own approach and was very good at it. Eastwood declared, "There's no doubting his influence on American film in general and Westerns in particular. I've always valued his actions, even if I wasn't entirely in agreement regarding it." Eastwood also admitted that even if they might not have exchanged the same way of thinking about their depictions on cinema of Wayne's manhood was respected by him. Consistently high standards of professionalism and his capacity to enthrall viewers. The power was too strong to ignore. When he entered a situation, he had, Eastwood said, he exuded this presence, this indisputable natural force, and it's impossible to fake that. Besides talking about Wayne's legacy, additionally, Eastwood discussed their personal exchanges, or more accurately, the absence of which. Although they both discovered oneself in like circles of the royalty of Hollywood, never had the opportunity to collaborate on screen, nor did they become intimately acquainted. Companionship. We lived in distinct times of Hollywood, but we respected each other for each other. Eastwood thought. We didn't really spend time together, yet I believe we both of us were aware of our roles in the sector. This insight was an important one, since it gave fans and reviewers with a more complex knowledge about how Clint Eastwood, a man who established himself in the Western genre and beyond, had thoughts regarding one of the early heavyweights of the genre. For many years, an underlying curiosity had existed regarding whether Eastwood ever experienced eclipsed by life's bigger picture character of John Wayne, who was a significant impact on a generation of moviegoers. Eastwood, now in his 90s, was last prepared to admit the Wayne's indisputable influence on both the genre as well as his own professional path, even though their on-screen ideologies varied. As Eastwood keeps working as a producer and director in his subsequent years, his thoughts about John Wayne remind us that legendary figures in Hollywood, in spite of their distinctions, they frequently have a profound regard for one another's profession. Despite the fact that their jobs were distinct, the Western genre has been influenced by both men in ways that still have an impact on movies even now. In a lot of ways, Clint Eastwood's choice to criticize John Wayne is a reflection of the larger development of the genre of Westerns in general. What started as a straightforward story of virtue versus evil has changed into a more intricate and thoughtful investigation of the human state. Additionally, as Clint Eastwood gets ready for what might be his last years. In the sector, it's evident that the John Wayne's legacy, in addition to his personal, will keep influencing the terrain of film for future generations. And